What's up, movie fans? You're watching A Theater Near You. My name is ATNY, and today we are talking about The Atomic Blonde. It's out July 28th, 2017. It's directed by David Licht, and it stars Charlize Theron, James McAvoy, John Goodman, Toby Jones, and Sophia Boutella. This is a film based on the graphic novel series by Anthony Johnston called The Coldest City. And what is this film exactly? If you've seen the commercials, you've seen the advertising in any way, there's a lot of push to compare it to James Bond, Jason Bourne, John Wick. And I got to say, a lot of that I feel is unfair. This film does not really share much, especially with Bond and Wick. It's pretty close to a Jason Bourne in the sense of agent in a city unknown trying to solve a mystery, a crime. But other than that, there's not a lot of comparison here. Charlize Theron is an MI6 agent deployed to Berlin during the Cold War, or right towards the end of the Cold War in 1989. And she's working alongside James McAvoy, who is another agent, trying to uncover who has killed an MI6 agent. I know I've said MI6 a lot, MI6. And this dead agent was killed with a list. The list is a series of names for all the undercover operatives from every large government agency. And she is deployed to Berlin to catch up with McAvoy to solve this murder mystery and discover where this list is, who has it, and trying to get it back to the government. This movie has kind of a weird gimmick where it starts at the end of the film. It starts in present day, or at least present day for the movie, and then takes us back 10 days. And the bulk of the film is that sequence of events in the past, if you will. And that wouldn't be such a problem if this film didn't keep cutting back to the present day, where she is back at MI6 and she's telling her story to her superiors, played by Toby Jones of the MI6 government, and John Goodman, John Goodman, who is playing a CIA agent listening in on this interview. And it's just very distracting that this movie keeps cutting back to this interview. We'll have about 10 to 15 minutes of action in Berlin, and then boom, it's narration again, and we're back in the interview room. And they'll ask her a question. They're like, well, why did you go here? And then boom, we'll cut back to that scene. And, a few films pull this off. This movie doesn't really. It just staggers the flow of the film. It really breaks it up in a sense that it didn't need to be broken up. So I didn't agree with that. And unfortunately, it is throughout the entire film where we keep cutting back and cutting back and cutting back, or having narration over the top when we didn't need it. So that is a shame. David Licht is known for directing, although he was unaccredited. He worked on the first John Wick, and I think that's where a lot of the comparison comes from him directing that film and having an influence on that film. He's also a known stunt coordinator for a long, long time for a lot of films, including Fight Club, 300, Wick, of course. He's also directing Deadpool 2. So he has a very stunt-oriented background as a director, and unfortunately this movie doesn't really deliver on that aspect. I was really hoping for more of a visceral experience like John Wick, that slick, stylized, wham bam kind of feel, and this movie has sequences that feel kind of silly, almost like overly stylized, and then the next sequence will be really brutal and hard-hitting, and then the next sequence will be kind of wham bam again, and it's all over the place. It doesn't really pick a style of action that it wants to stick to. There is a great sequence right in the middle of this film where Charlize is escorting a target around, played by Eddie Marsan, and that sequence is excellent. It's one long, unbroken take, as far as we can tell, of just her fighting off one guy, and then another guy will come in, and then she'll have to fight him off and throw him down the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs there's another guy. And throughout this whole sequence, the camera continues to follow her, as opposed to using edits and cuts to kind of break up the action. So that was very nice. It reminded me a lot of the stairwell sequence from Daredevil Netflix season, or the the Netflix Daredevil season 2 stairwell fight. Excuse me. It reminded me a lot of that. It has that really clean, continuous, tiresome, brutal fight, which is perfect. I was really hoping the whole film would be like that. Unfortunately, it's really just that one sequence. Also a bit confusing, Sofia Boutella's character doesn't really have much to do, although she is in a good chunk of this film. I was kind of waiting for her character to have a purpose. And I feel like this is something that the graphic novel probably answers a lot better or utilizes a lot better. But it doesn't deliver in that sense. I wasn't sure why she was there or what she was doing. And that's kind of a note of the whole film. It's either confusing when it doesn't need to be, or it's too predictable. And there was quite a few times where I was either unsure of what was happening as a fault of the film, or I saw something coming a mile away and then the film reveals it, and I kind of nodded my head in the theater and I was like, yes, yep, I'm aware. I know that was happening, or I knew that person was who they said they were. And the movie kind of plays it off as like this big shocking reveal, and it just didn't work for me. Overall, performances here are pretty good. Charlize Theron and James McAvoy especially kind of drive this narrative, but it still really doesn't work in the sense that I feel the movie thinks it does. It comes off almost a little cocky, but their performances are pretty solid. Everybody else is decent. There was nobody here that really came across as bad or miscast. The soundtrack to this film is excellent. They did a really good job choosing a lot of 80s songs, especially kind of European pop songs that fit this tone very well. So great props to the music there. Stunt work was decent, like I said. Definitely not bad. It's definitely not cheesy. But from David Licht, I was kind of expecting a little bit more. And from the advertising, I was expecting more. So it's okay, you guys. I am going to give this one a 5.5 out of 10. Let me know what you thought down below, though. This is a conversation. I want to hear from you. So tell me what you guys think of The Atomic Blonde when you see it. You can comment down below, or you can tweet at me. I also appreciate any likes and subscribes you can send my way. Check out my other reviews and videos. I'll be posting a lot more content on a weekly basis. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good one.